Now, Democratic Senator from Arizona, Ruben Gallego, who just introduced a resolution calling on the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files. Senator, good to have you. Explain why you felt you needed to get involved in this.
Well, look, clearly there is something going on in the White House where they do not want to have transparency. After almost 8 years of a campaign that vilified government workers, politicians, accusing them of being supportive of pedophiles, on the eve of potentially releasing what we think should be information that the public wants, they are now hiding and lying. So I think the public has a right to know, were you lying for the last 8 years, going after politicians and vilifying all these government employees that were just trying to do their jobs, victimizing, again, some of these victims of Epstein for political gain? Or are you actually covering up for your elite friends, which I think the public either way has a right to know? And what we've seen so far is this president will always take care of his elite friends, whether it's pardons for his rich friends, whether it's tax cuts for the rich, and now making sure he's covering up the client list of Jeffrey Epstein, because God knows there's probably a lot of friends of Donald Trump in there.
I want to get your take, though, on the conversation I just had with Chuck Rosenberg, who talked about the dangers of releasing files like this, because there are people that haven't been charged, people that certainly haven't been convicted, information that could get out into the public that could endanger or ruin the lives of individuals who have not faced any charges by the federal government. Does it? Well, look, are you concerned about that?
Well, my bill actually does address some of that to make sure that we protect people that are innocent as well as the victims. But let's go back where this all began. This began because Donald Trump and his online podcast allies were running around and accusing everyone within government of being supportive of pedophiles. And now, on the eve of when they were supposed to release this information, we now know that they have been lying the whole time and or are covering for their friends. Again, this is what people hate about government in general. You run on this issue. You literally have been raising money on this issue. And now when it's inconvenient to you and your friends, you are running and hiding and lying. The Republicans created this problem. Donald Trump created this problem, and now they have to live with it. And the American public has a right to know, were you lying the whole time, or are you covering up for your friends?
I understand that. But how do you get to that specifically? Because when the Democrats get involved and say release the files and join the Republicans, which they had previously been saying, the implication is that the government is covering something up. The implication to Americans is that they cannot trust the institutions, not just the people that are in charge of them, but the institutions
the reason
themselves.
you don't trust institutions is because Donald Trump's in charge of the institution.
Well, tell me,
it's Donald Trump.
Tell me how you resolve
has eroded
that.
the whole system.
Let me ask the question. I hear you. Tell me how you resolve that that fundamental issue that Americans have right now, which is that they don't trust the system. How do you resolve it and not make it worse?
Well, the way you do it is you don't run 8-year campaigns when you smear government officials and politicians and then walk away and say, don't look at this, don't listen to this, you're stupid if you're even asking about this. Let's be clear. This is not the DOJ's problem. This is the Trump administration's problem. This is all of his allies on podcasts that have been smearing people for years, and now they have to answer. And the way you get the public trust back is you don't engage in those types of campaigns. And number two, you have transparency. And right now, because of all the confusion they've caused, all the harm they've caused, all the people they have harmed for 8 years, running them out of politics and out of government jobs, they have to answer. And that's what the American public will get to know. And then they'll get to decide, did this administration lie for 8 years for political gain? Do they re-victimize these poor women for political gain? Or are they covering up for their elite friends that they've been doing this whole time? The American public deserves a public, and that's how we start regaining trust.
There have been some voices in the Democratic Party who have been openly telling Democrats this is not the issue to get involved with, but instead to focus on the big, beautiful bill, to focus on Medicare, to focus on what Donald Trump is doing policy-wise. They believe that the issue that is winning for the Democrats is for the Democrats to seize a hold of the economy, seize a hold of tax cuts for the powerful, Medicare cuts for the not powerful. Are you worried that could this distract from that?
No, because this is actually part of the whole big problem when it comes to the Trump administration. They only take care of the elites. Right now, he's taking care of potentially his rich friends that are on this list and the podcasters that have been making millions of dollars lying for the last 8 years. Or it is actually, again, giving these massive tax cuts to the rich. It's all one big same thing. Donald Trump takes care of the elite and the rich, and everyone else has to pay, whether it's the government employees at the DOJ that were called cover-up, considered part of the cover-up of pedophilia, or all these poor millions and millions of Americans that are going to lose their Medicaid in order for the riches of America to continue to get a tax cut. It's all tied in the same. And for those Democrats that are afraid of engaging, listen, we need to be fighting right now. Donald Trump and the admin and his political allies, they are the ones that actually caused this political issue. It is not our.
In a bold move, Arizona Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego has introduced a resolution calling on the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files, citing the urgent need for transparency amid allegations of government cover-ups. Gallego's resolution seeks to uncover whether the Trump administration has been truthful in its public stance or is shielding influential figures connected to Jeffrey Epstein. The senator's push comes after years of accusations from former President Donald Trump and his allies, who have vilified government workers and politicians, claiming they enabled or protected illicit activities. Gallego argues that the public has a right to know the truth. Whether the administration's rhetoric over the past 8 years was a politically motivated smear campaign or an attempt to conceal connections to powerful elites. He pointed to a pattern of favoritism, alleging that the administration prioritizes the interests of the wealthy through actions like issuing pardons and enacting tax cuts for the rich. Gallego suggested that withholding the Epstein files could be an effort to protect prominent individuals, potentially including Trump's associates, from scrutiny. Addressing concerns about the risks of releasing sensitive documents, Gallego acknowledged the potential for harm to uncharged or unconvicted individuals named in the files. He emphasized that his resolution includes measures to safeguard innocent parties and Epstein's victims. However, he stressed that the controversy stems from Trump and his supporters, who have long accused government officials of complicity in serious crimes. Gallego argued that the administration's reluctance to release the files now contradicts its earlier narrative, further undermining public trust in governance. The senator rejected suggestions that Democrats should steer clear of this issue to focus on policy priorities like Medicare or economic fairness. He contended that the Epstein files controversy is inseparable from broader concerns about the Trump administration's favoritism toward the elite. Gallego framed the issue as part of a larger pattern, where the wealthy benefit from tax breaks and protections while ordinary Americans, including government workers smeared as complicit, bear the cost. He also linked the issue to proposed Medicaid cuts, which he claims prioritize the rich over millions of vulnerable citizens. Gallego attributed the erosion of public trust in institutions to Trump's leadership, accusing him of fueling division through years of inflammatory campaigns. He argued that transparency is the key to rebuilding confidence, urging the release of the Epstein files to clarify whether the administration misled the public for political gain or is covering for its allies. The senator emphasized that the American people deserve answers to hold the government accountable and make informed judgments about its actions. Some Democratic voices have cautioned against engaging with this issue, advocating instead for a focus on policy wins like healthcare and economic equity. Gallego dismissed these concerns, asserting that the fight for transparency aligns with challenging systemic elitism. He argued that the Epstein files controversy exposes the administration's tendency to prioritize the powerful over the public, whether through tax policies or withholding critical information. By demanding the files' release, Gallego aims to confront this pattern head-on, calling for Democrats to fight for accountability. The senator's resolution underscores a broader demand for truth and fairness, positioning the Epstein files as a critical test of the government's commitment to serving all Americans, not just the elite.